To Long Island Hustlers. We're so excited. What? Julia, what the hell are you doing?
Oh, I didn't know. I'm just taking this up.
Get your shit together.
That's me?
Oh my goodness.
Ow! I'm sorry, I think I got
Oh my God, that's it. That's it.
You done? You killed me.
Thank goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'm glad we sorted that out.
Well, that is our introduction to stage combat. Hi guys.
Hi everyone.
Whenever you're doing stage combat, you want to be safe, please. Don't just jump in. No, I'm good. That was awesome. Woo, I love it. I woke up, I worked up a sweat. I'm ready. Awesome.
I'm glad that we did that. That was my first time ever doing any.
Really? Well, that was the first time I ever did it without a rehearsal. So definitely
Usually not good. You try to rehearse stage combat. It's one of those
I
things.
think that's something that you should rehearse a lot and maybe have some training.
Yeah.
But you know what's really cool about stage combat is that you actually don't need, I mean, it's good if you have fight training, but you can do it with just learning the choreography.
Right.
Because it's very different. I mean, I know that people that do martial arts practice this way without actually keeping that arm's distance from each other.
Right.
That's how they practice so they don't hit each other. And I know, like I did a sword thing with Spencer one time, one of my students who's a serious martial artist, and he used to come in with his little sword thing, and they were like heavy.
Yeah.
And every day we would practice because we were doing, actually, you were the star in the Morticia.
Oh, Adam's Family?
Yeah.
Oh,
we did the sword scene in a dance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Oh, it was so much fun. I was like really getting into it, and we had a very short scene, but I had two swords. I had to coordinate two swords. It was I don't even remember, but every day he would come in and we would practice. First, we do it just with the hands.
Okay.
And then we did it with the swords,
et
cetera, and so on.
So interesting and cool because it really, you could think of a fight like that, like a dance, right? You have like kind of like it comes to a climax and you want to keep it, and we're going to talk a little later about like movies and movie scenes. You want to keep the fights engaging and not boring. So even if you have an hour of fight, you want to keep it going here and there.
Oh,
so
I know.
It's
and
like
then there's like, if you look at these Shakespearean fights on stage, they have to do all those sounds live. They can't add the sounds after. Because a movie, you can add the sound after, you can go slow.
You could do a bunch of takes.
Yeah,
but theater,
a bunch of takes.
The real deal, right? Live theater.
Yeah,
and I imagine it must be hard if you make one mistake. Like even if we messed up a little, you have to keep going and kind of with your partner find your way back to the scene and to the rhythm of the fight.
The rhythm of the fight, exactly, and the sounds. You could get creative with choreographing the sounds.
Totally.
You know, because you do these naps where you hit your body to make the sounds, and you could do that, or you could do, you know, a slap.
Yeah.
Which I was supposed to do. I forgot the slap, but next time we will put some time into this and really practice. But we just want to be silly for you guys. We are going to talk about a little bit more about fighting in movies and gunfights in movies as well. And we want to know your favorite gunfight in a movie. And we have a guest today.
This is actually our first episode where we're bringing on a guest, right?
Yes, we have tried to bring on guests.
But
we shouldn't brag too quickly because we don't know if it's going to work.
I know, this cannot work. But we're going to try again right now. And we're excited, you know.
We have this Let me let you
Sure.
bring the guest. You're closer. Yeah, we have Will. Hi, Will.
Hello, hello.
Hi. Welcome.
Thank you so much for being here.
You guys got me. That stressed me out. I was like, wait, why are they fighting? My heart was still going, and I was like, this is a pretty good fight. Like, I wish I could see it better,
Oh yeah. Well, that's the secret, because I don't want people to really know what happens when Julia, she takes off, she goes to LA, she goes to all these places. That's it. I have to kick her butt.
That was intense. Yes, that was very good. Very good.
Yeah.
Will, can you introduce yourself to our viewers, please?
Absolutely. Hello, everyone. My name is William Ernest McGinty III. I am an actor, and I am a gun enthusiast / practitioner of many styles of firearm operations.
Awesome. Excellent. Excellent.
Well, thank you for being here. We're excited to talk to you, and we just thought it would be awesome to bring you in for sort of a different, maybe more professional perspective when it comes to, guns and weapons and kind of how people might be trained, or the certain types of guns that you know about. And, because we're, both very curious in relation to theater and movies, just how it all works. I really know nothing about any of this. So
It's so complex. Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine. Well, for starters, how did you get into this field?
As a child, I was always the kid with a water gun or a Nerf gun. If there was a trip to the dollar store, I had to get something that had a barrel and a trigger on it. Even if it didn't work, it didn't matter to me. So the imagination portion of my interest was always really strong with plastic guns, or even a stick that I would find out in the desert. To me, it was a rifle, and I could point it at rocks or a shadow and just pretend like I was an army man. Like, what little boy doesn't want to be a soldier? I was that kid, covering myself in dirt and so on and so forth.
I'm sure your mom appreciated that one.
Oh, she got tired of it. Yeah, especially finding sticks in my laundry. That got old really quick.
That is so funny. What's weird is it's hard to find even like a little water gun that doesn't look very, very fake nowadays. Like, when I was a kid, I'm older than both of you, and I found in my mom's basement, I actually have it in this drawer. It's a gun that is a toy, but it looks like a real gun, so I'm not going to show it. I don't want to scare anybody. I'll show you later, though. But, I found that, and I was doing a showcase. We were doing like a little soprano thing with my partner, Vincent, and one of his students, Carol, and she was looking for it was her idea. She wanted a shootout at the end. Okay. So she had to go to Etsy and get these pink, really cute pink guns made. And she got these pink garters that we hid them in during the whole dance. And she couldn't find anything. So she had to get like something made, and it had to be like a color that was not the color of a real gun.
Definitely.
Because it's the world has changed.
Totally. And nowadays, I even know, and people want to be very careful of it. I've heard stories of in universities and film programs. I know you're not really allowed to use any weapons when you're making short films or doing projects.
Really?
Yeah, they just, even if it's obviously
like real ones, you mean?
Well, even fake ones. They don't want you doing anything regarding like gun violence or fake knives. And
at NYU, was that?
Yeah,
okay.
That's the one.
It's not all schools.
Maybe it's not all. But yeah, and I thought it was
New York,
yeah. And I asked a professor about it just out of curiosity, and they really said they've had people get hurt in the past, kind of like, I don't know, like maybe there were some real things involved. It's like you just don't want to get involved in any of that, so they just took it all away. You're also not allowed to film on rooftops because apparently there was an accident, which is horrible. So, I think things are getting a lot more careful, and even in theaters, like they don't use fake guns anymore. They just, because it's obviously
changed the choreography, changed the scenes.
It's, it's a huge issue right now, I guess, in society. So there's such a fine line between wanting to retell a story and wanting to use guns and fake guns. It really could be such a important prop to really make a difference. But people just want to stay away from that right now, which is understandable. But it's rough.
But it's still prevalent in many series.
I think it's a lot easier to get away with that in film, and that's I think this could be a good segue to talk about. Obviously, I'm sure some of our viewers are thinking as we're speaking the whole Alec Baldwin incident. Yes, I know we always talk about
Alec Baldwin. I mean, here's the deal, Will. Alec Baldwin grew up like. He was like my neighbor. He's older than me. I did not know him, but he grew up in Nassau Shores in Massapequa, where I grew up. So I have a special place in my heart. I feel like this town camaraderie with him. So when that happened, I felt very bad for what he was going through. Yeah. And as an actress, I did actually a short film. And so I was asking if it was just NYU with they weren't doing it through the college though, but we did have a totally fake gun. It looked real to me because I have not had a lot of experience in front of real guns, and but it looked real, and it had just happened. The shooting had just happened, so I was like, oh, but I totally trusted everybody on the set without pause. So can you talk to us about what's the deal? What's your opinion on that as an expert?
When I first heard about it, it overwhelmed me. I've always been a fan of him. He's had an amazing career. One of my favorite movies of all time is The Departed, because there's so many powerhouse actors in that movie.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah.
And it's exciting and suspenseful, and there's a ton of firearm usage, and they do it quite well in that film. Yeah. So to hear that an accident took place and there was a loss of life and just tragedy, I, one, couldn't wait to investigate it. Two, I was just down about the whole thing. It was such a bummer. You know, we don't want anyone to get hurt. We just want to see an exciting movie, you know, and enjoy what you two did at the beginning of this launch into this conversation, was just get my heart rate going and excited. And I don't even need coffee because I'm on adrenaline now.
I love it.
So my opinion is going to have to be based upon what I have learned in training, which is anytime you're handling firearms, you are creating muscle memory. You are establishing a foundation of reactions that your brain is going to communicate to your body to either perform or not perform. And looking at it this way, throughout the course of his career, he's been pointing firearms at people on set for how long now? And nothing bad has happened.
That's true.
His muscle memory has told him, he's been taught, it's okay. It's okay. Don't worry. Nothing bad's going to happen. And unfortunately that day, those were not the circumstances. So it's such a dark hole,
absolutely.
You know?
I kind of want to learn more about, you know, obviously, so what happened, right, was he thought it was a blank, but it wasn't replaced with blank. It was an actual bullet. So what is the process of like replacing the gun with a blank? Like just how does that work in general? And what is a blank?
Yeah, sure. Good question.
Well, any firearm can be unloaded without having to discharge the round that is in the chamber or in the magazine or in the wheel on a revolver. They're often referred to as wheel guns. However, the blanks need to be there and present when live ammo is simply not. They're very easy to confuse unless you're familiar with the difference in weight or how to visually inspect the difference. You may not know. So
gotcha.
I did look into that incident, and it sounds like there's some speculation that the firearms were used offset on a lunch break to go shoot live rounds and then brought back. Now, I don't know how much of this holds water. This is what I've been able to find, you know, on a computer screen. I can tell you right now, that is a very complicated situation. I'm not sure why on-set props were used with live ammo and then brought back.
Yeah.
That to me is a red flag all day long.
Yeah, needs to be. Yeah. Hopefully we will find out, and hopefully it will never happen again. I just feel for him again, like I know him personally, but I know that if that happened to me, you know, I would never, like, you would just, aside from everybody suing you and all that other stuff, but you would never forgive yourself. It's something that you have to live with forever.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate, and I think that's really something that the crew and whoever there is on set and trained to be in charge of that really has to take more seriously.
Definitely.
Should be on top of, because that's literally the most important thing on set if you think about it, right? So it's that's terrible. But enough about
so let's talk about the back in the 70s and 80s. We had some interesting movies that had amazing gunfights. And then, of course, there's plenty of today. I know you mentioned a few that were fairly recent. But I wanted to start with Godfather. So specifically, now there were so many, we can't talk about all of them because that would be like a separate show. But the Godfather scene, when I first watched this, Sonny, when he drove that Lincoln through the toll booth, I was so upset.
It's so intense, yeah.
So intense. Were those what kind of guns were those? Were those real guns?
Okay, so that was a perfect ambush. I mean, you got a guy who's coming in hot. He's worked up.
And the toll booth guy.
Not seeing clearly at all. He is full of emotions. So in between those two stations, he pulls in and they open fire on him with fully automatic Thompson machine guns, which at the time were kind of ahead of their time engineering and design wise. That rifle fires a 45 caliber round that is heavy. It's kind of slow, but it is really good at dumping energy into the target. So yes, it will cut through car doors and windshields, especially back then when those vehicles were pretty much just boxes of metal, right? Yeah. And there's crossfire going on. I mean, there's like 8 or 9 guys just sending mail, back and forth. There's no chance he had really to evade getting, hit by a round. And then, of course, they make sure the job is done. And even after he's crawling across the floor and injured, they continue to rain on him. So very intense, total game changer for a scene in that movie, too.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. Big time. And that was James Caan, right? James.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. He was a hot-headed Italian.
Yeah.
I'm half Italian, and sorry if you're half Italian, you have a little hot head in you. And he was going out to save his sister, and
in defense of his sister. I mean,
gotta defend the woman.
Right.
Sorry, stereotype, but a little bit. Like I said, I'm Italian, and I grew up around many. So. And then now there's, like I said, there's so many in The Godfather, but I wanted to move on to Scarface. And Julia has an interesting Scarface story before we get into My Little Friend.
Yeah, well, Scarface is like my favorite movie of all time, so I'm really glad that we're talking about this. And I was telling Stephanie today, this is a crazy thing, but I'm actually currently working on writing Scarface the musical, and I wanted to premiere on Broadway. I just always, the first second I saw Scarface, I was just writing music to it, and I was like, how is this not on Broadway? Like, it would be so good. And honestly,
now as a comedy or
no, really as exactly what the genre.
Oh, okay, Scarface the musical.
Yeah, really, it would be, I guess, a drama.
Well, I can see it being done.
Do
you have anyone envisioned to play Al Pacino?
Yeah, I've got a few people in mind. Yeah, you got an audition over here. Hey, I would trust you with the props and everything.
Oh my goodness!
But initial thought.
That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, that sounds great.
But it's super exciting, and I don't know why I thought this, and it's kind of funny because he's such a theater guy, but I always thought Lin-Manuel Miranda would make such a good Al Pacino. Like, can't you just see him singing as Tony Soprano?
Definitely.
Very sassy.
Yeah.
Will, do you sing? Will, do you sing?
So I can, kind of like do a little acoustic guitar folk thing. Yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah, I can make it happen.
Yeah. Well, but yeah, really, the one thing, if I'm being honest, that I'm struggling with while I'm writing this is thinking realistically about the guns, and am I really gonna want in the theater and in the production for them to have gunshots, and like obviously I don't want anyone to be scared. Like it would be an experience, and I know you would have to make a disclaimer in the beginning of the show. There are going to be loud noises or whatever.
Sure,
but I
definitely
just think
controversial
at this time with everything that's going on. I don't know if I feel comfortable with releasing something with so many guns in it, and it's hard because without the guns it would just be totally cheesy. I can't like replace
because you have to think about putting it in the time era and the field that you know he was in. I mean, Al Pacino in Scarface was a bad guy, so you know that just adds to the fact that you know he was this character, so you don't want to clean him up and give him, I don't know, little
it validates. So, yeah.
Definitely, yeah. So I'm gonna have to think about that. Really think about maybe more of a theatrical and artistic, abstract way to execute.
Well, that could be cool too. Yeah. Abstract, I like that.
Something, but I'll see. You know, but that's just exciting. A little aside about Scarface. But yeah, let's talk about Scarface. Awesome. Obviously, there's a lot of guns.
Yeah, a lot of guns, right? So what was the little friend is the famous scene. So tell us about that gun. Like if me and Julia were holding that and he's laughing because he knows we would turn it into some kind of comedy. We'd be like, which side is up? We don't know. Like, is that heavy? Is that
So that rifle, and just to say, like, at that point in the film, I mean, his office chair has his initials, you know, like stitched into the back of it. He's got a tiger in the yard. Why not have a grenade launcher on your home defense rifle, right? It's just perfect. So the thing is with that rifle, that was a military spec AR-15 with an M203 grenade launcher. It was also used as Arnold Schwarzenegger's primary in the movie Predator, the same one. So it is like, that's a king's weapon. Like in the history of Hollywood, that rifle, as it sat in that movie and in Predator and many others, it's just showstopper. It was, so in the 80s, pre-1986, fully auto was okay. So you could hold down the trigger and just make fireworks until the magazine was empty. And then, of course, loading a grenade into, you know, an attachment, breaching a door or breaching the double doors in your fancy mansion, you know, like that was it was kind of realistic for how they depicted it. The smoke and everything would take an effect. So you would have a lot of variables, but that rifle went with his personality type and his character for that film so well. There was no way that any other weapon system was going to match Tony Montana with, you know, like it was perfect. It was perfection.
Oh my God.
And how much does a weapon like that go for? Like just in that time period, let's say Tony Montana went out and bought that gun, about how much do you think it would be? Let's
say like, I doubt he went to a gun store and filled out paperwork. So, you know, at his status and budget, maybe $2,000 or $3,000. Today, that could be somewhere between if it's a real Colt and a M203, I think you can buy, but now they're modified to launch like tennis balls and soda cans. Maybe like $5,000 to $7,000 roughly. Yeah. And full auto is no longer, they hasn't been allowed since 1986. So it'd be a semi-automatic weapon. You know, you can't just hold the trigger down and spray bullets. It would be one bullet fired for every trigger press. So it'd be different.
Gotcha. And now I'm going to sound very dumb asking this question because I don't really know the phrase, but what's it called when you shoot the gun and you kind of like are thrown back? The kickback?
Yeah. So that is referred to as recoil.
Recoil. And now is that happening with a gun like that?
There is going to be some recoil. That round specifically is a small bullet that's going very fast. It's traveling at over 2,000 feet per second, and it's impacting with over 1,000 foot-pounds of energy. So it is a little piece of like comet basically traveling through the atmosphere. It's louder because of its speed than it is its actual discharge. Cracks the sound barrier, no problem.
Yeah.
And how heavy is it? Looks heavy.
7 to 8 pounds, depending on the magazine being full, or if it's like, you know, they had like extended magazines that had, you know, twice the capacity almost. And then if the grenade launcher has a round in it, that right there is weighty as well. You're carrying a piece of fruit, you know.
Okay, interesting.
You want a sling for sure. Yeah, it's not one you want to carry around all day. But if, you know, you're in your mansion and you're fighting back.
I mean, yeah, I can totally relate. We've all been there, and you know,
that scene is so crazy. It's just like, and he's getting hit, and he's still like, ah.
Yeah,
and now I have a question about that. I always
did such a great job.
oh, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
Was that realistic that adrenaline could push you through those kinds of gun wounds?
So you're watching him prior to that gunfight just boost up on his own product, and he is so amplified.
Yeah.
And then his sister, you know, it comes in. So he's got a lot going on emotionally. And I will say, aside from what, you know, I've felt personally in training, your adrenaline, your ability to harbor that, that amount of energy, it's kind of unknown. You don't know until you go through it. And
interesting. With
various projectiles and their speed and their impact value, depending on where he got hit, yes, a human could survive multiple impacts if they're not centralized into a vital. You know, you could still fight if you take a bullet up here or on the hip. You know, it might toss you or spin you around. But if you're like in Superman mode and you're defending your home, and your sister is doing some weird stuff, you know, you don't even know where your wife is, and there's guys crawling up the second story on a rope, and you're probably not going to stop just because you felt a little buzz come through, you know? Right. So I would say it's not too far-fetched.
Yeah. I can compare it to when you get a dance injury. You know, you break a toe, you kind of carry on. I'm sure it's just like that.
You have a goal. You're in a mindset to persevere.
You don't feel anything, and then you know. So
when you're dancing on a big stage in front of an audience, you're not going to.
That's my relatability.
Totally.
So you take the heel, you keep on walking, right?
Oh, for sure. Oh my gosh. You know, we've all danced on a broken toe. But I'm sure gunshots worse. But the comeback from that reminds me of a lot of scenes in John Wick, specifically that red circle scene where he kind of goes over the railing and then kind of gets back up and keeps going. I guess that's the same kind of adrenaline rush, right?
If you have a mindset and intent, you are going to be capable of a lot. Yes.
Because I always like marvel at did you watch the John Wick?
Yes.
I always like, oh my God, he just keeps coming back and he keeps coming back. He just keeps getting, he is the toughest guy. The only thing that melts his heart is, what's the actor's name?
Keanu Reeves.
Keanu Reeves, that's right. And it's only when he's got his little dog that, you know, it's like you see this soft emotional side when he's with the dog, right? But you were talking about Kill Bill.
Yeah, well, I didn't know we were just going to focus on specifically gunfight movies, but
combat
Kill
too.
Bill, when I think of, I guess, combat and sword fights, sort of like what we did today, I think of Kill Bill.
We were just like them.
We're just like Uma Thurman and Kill Bill. That's exactly
like two Umas going at it. Yeah.
That's exactly it. And, you know, I think it's just so interesting. You know, I was talking about a little earlier, just being able to, during a fight scene, keep your audience engaged. And I mean, all of Kill Bill is like one continuous fight scene. She's just going to different locations and fighting. It's so engaging, and I think it's just so intentionally choreographed. And I can only imagine what that took as far as takes and stunt doubles and just everything, the gore, and just very, very impressive from a viewer standpoint, you know. So,
is Uma, she must have some kind of martial arts.
I guess, and I wonder, I wish I would have done a little more research as to, I'm assuming there were
some gymnastics or something. A lot of them have even if they have stunt doubles, they still have.
Still, just to be able to move like that. But,
dance training.
Yeah.
Dance training helps.
Definitely, because it really is choreography.
Yeah.
It's one big dance and rhythm, like I was saying earlier. So yeah, that's just what came to my mind. It's really
That had to have been a ton of work. Edged weapon discipline is, and you nailed it. It's a lot like dance, or it's a choreography. You know, you don't have projectiles necessarily, but you have something in motion that it's the energy's going somewhere when you swing that sword or those nunchucks, you know. And the scene with Lucy Liu, and they're fighting with their Hattori Hanzo katanas, the sharpest steel you can buy.
Right. And
And they're slicing at each other in the snow. It's just like, it's almost beautiful, but so harsh at the same time, because you're like, I like both of them. Why do they have to fight right now? You know, and they make it work. It's so suspenseful.
And it's just so intriguing, and it's just so interestingly done. And I think that's why it was one of those movies that really changed the game for film and just for everything, because you got like these pretty women fighting like
love that
animals, you know what I mean? And it's just like, it's such a violent, horrific movie, really. But then you have Uma Thurman, who looks like she's a Victoria's Secret model, you know. So I think it was so cool, and it really just changed the game for even female empowerment, and really like bringing females to that whole stage combat front of like that badass character type. So that's another thing I really admired about the movie. That's why I'm glad we got to do our own little.
Yes, me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's
just as ruthless as Uma Thurman.
She was scaring me for a second there. The other thing, well, so we went kind of quickly through the years, but I have to, before we wrap up, I definitely need to talk about my all-time favorite show that's on now, Blacklist, with James Spader. And first of all, I love the fact that he can orchestrate both stage combat and gunfights with just a phone call, where he doesn't even have to participate in it, right? He's like the last man to be involved in any kind of confrontation. He's like pulling the strings all the time.
Right.
And you got to be a really good actor to pull this off, I think. I just would watch personally anything with James Spader. But do you have like a favorite gun that he used in that? There were so many. It's like too many.
So not only with the firearm usage in Blacklist, but the creativity, the diversions they create with like Molotov cocktails. And there's a scene in one episode where like he drips some blood off his finger down like an AC vent, and it lands on the bad guy, and the bad guy's disoriented. That is exactly what you want. You want the guy who's hunting you to leave his mindset of focus and be confused, like where did this blood? And then the uses of shotguns in that series, that's a show-stopping amount of energy. And they're in almost every gunfight, I think, in that show. So it's pretty good.
Stage combat, like his assistant is always doing some kind. Whoever he had a few. Well, he had the one who was my favorite, that actor, Mumbai or something. I forgot his name, but I just would watch him in anything. And then he had the new assistant now, who's a female, who's also tough as nails.
She's toughie. Yes, she is. She's also one of the ones always bearing a shotgun, which is pretty cool. I mean, tiny woman with a big gun. I'm a fan. I like that. That works for me.
Love it. Okay, well, we always like to wrap up with some kind of improv something. So, yeah. So we're going to do some kind of improv something.
What did we talk about? Maybe we could play that like one-word story. So we all go around and we keep giving one word until we've got a short little story finished. And I think we should choose a theme that was that matches today, right?
So we each get only one word each, and we'll go like
around.
We'll go you, me, Will, and then we'll keep going around until we either don't make sense or we find something interesting. And our topic will be mobsters. I love it. We are our topic's mobsters. So one word, okay.
Sometimes.
Sorry.
Sometimes.
Mobsters
dress
like
cool
fashionable,
Ladies.
And
men.
Why
do
Mobsters,
always
wear
pinstripe suits,
to
battle
and business.
one word?
Sorry.
It's okay.
question mark? I
Love
Cigars,
just
after
business,
meetings
and
discussion,
with
other
women.
and
mobsters.
great. Let's do a few more
Okay, go. Will, you're up.
Firearms,
Aren't
As
cool,
as
some,
cigars,
are
especially
without
pinstripe suits.
and
drinks.
Period.
Good job. Thanks for playing with us, Will, and thank you for being our guest today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having
It
me.
was an honor.
Yeah, very insightful.
good.
I think it was cool to have kind of all of the different perspectives together. And I hope some of our
Absolutely.
viewers, I hope you guys were tuning in and maybe learned something new today. I know that I did. And yeah, thank you for being here for episode 5 of Long Island Hustlers.
Thanks for watching, guys.
Thank you, and we'll see
Bye, everyone.
you next time. Take
See you
care.
next time.
Bye.
All
Bye.